the Dutch perspective.
And plenty of muscle, too.
The world according to Dutch.
An investment in brains will pay dividends.
He'll allow it.
Just who do you think you are?
And now your host, Dutch Coleman.
Hey. How you doing? And all that jazz. This is the Dutch Coleman coming at you with the world according to Dutch. I want to welcome you in, and I want to first of all thank you for all the feedback that I received on my initial show. This is something that I've been wanting to do. A lot of you follow me from my days on WCCP 105.5 FM down in Clemson. And this is something, since I moved away, I wanted to do on my own to get myself out there and let people know my thoughts on the various issues of the day. So I appreciate those of you who follow me on Twitter at The Dutch Coleman, those that connected with me via Facebook, and my personal friends and family that have been supporting me in this new venture. I'm humbled by the response. I hope that the support continues, and also I welcome any and all constructive criticism, any requests that you guys have out there. You want to know my thoughts on. This is the world according to Dutch. So any issues out there, mainly the sports world, but I will indulge some of you with some of your other stuff that you might have want to hear my thoughts on. So feel free to shoot that to me as well. Again, thank you all as I welcome you in. I'll try and do this every couple of days, and as I see fit, maybe I'll increase my exposure to everyone, depending on how I feel led to do. And that's going to also be dependent upon your feedback and your desire to hear what I have to say. So I want to jump right in today. The biggest news for me of the day, besides the Super Bowl, but I guess following right after the Super Bowl, and this may make some of you uncomfortable. Some parts of it may make some of you uncomfortable because there's some adult activity involved. The Rick Pitino stuff. If you don't know, Louisville did the self-imposed ban on the postseason this year, and it got a lot of press. I mean, it was on everything, every talk show, every news outlet. There was a ton of it. And it bothered me, not the fact that it happened, because I think it needed to happen, but I think it was done under the wrong premise. I think the reasons, the motives, there were ulterior motives in the whole self-imposed penalty. Now, we know that when schools do this, typically they're doing it to get in front of the NCAA or the possible NCAA sanctions. They want the NCAA to say, hey, we like the fact that you guys have, quote unquote, punished yourselves. We're not going to go much further than that. So good job. Maybe they'll accept only what you did. Maybe they'll only add a little more. Maybe, and you do run the risk of going a little further than they may have. But what you're doing is you're trying to get in front of them in anything that you can do that you find acceptable amongst yourself, your own people. Then you're going to be okay with that. So the postseason ban was obviously something they felt that they can deal with. Now, this is where my problem is. Now, if you heard Rick Pitino's interview on this and you were comfortable with that in any way, I applaud you. Good for you, because I was completely uncomfortable with it. Now, I've been around collegiate athletics, so a lot of the things we're going to say to you is going to be with experiences, and with experiences that are not available to the average person even that is around collegiate sports. So now you have people that are around collegiate sports, and then you have someone like myself who was around collegiate sports, and I was trusted by some of the people. So I'm not going to go into any serious detail, but I'm going to give you enough that's going to at least help you understand why I feel the way I feel about Rick Pitino. Now, I'll start with this. First of all, Rick Pitino's notion that we're supposed to believe that he had no knowledge of anything that was going on. Now, in the arrogance at which he does this, it baffles me because this guy is talking, at least a portion of his audience, he has to believe is educated enough. And I'm not talking about education from a university standpoint, even a high school. I'm talking about common sense, street education. I'm talking about the stuff that people know how people behave. Like he doesn't think enough of us listening that he would come up with better nonsense than what he came up with. Now, this guy wants us to believe that Rick Pitino, Hall of Fame coach, had no idea that any of this stuff was going on. Now, I'll give you a quick reset, and I'll try to make it as least comfortable as possible. Louisville's recruiting athletes, not unlike anybody else in the NCAA. Big-time basketball at Louisville makes it slightly different, so it does make the grouping a little smaller about what they have access to, the amount of money that Louisville invests in their program. But I'll say it's no different than anybody in the Power 5 conferences, right? So the Power 5 conference, and I'm sure it happens at the lower levels too, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to focus on the Power 5 conferences because of the resources that I know that are available. So you have a school that's recruiting athletes, premier athletes. Louisville's always in it to win it. And there's some things you got to do in their minds to keep up with the Joneses. Now, we know that you can do it one way or the other. We know you can cheat. We know you cannot cheat. And I'm going to give you an idea of where I'm going. I'm going down the road of people are cheating, right? People may be cheating differently. People may be cheating, spending a lot. People may be cheating, spending a little. But let's say cheating. We're going to throw all the cheating in together in one big pile. Now, Louisville is alleged to have used women and sex and dancing by these women to coerce potential student athletes into signing with Louisville. Now, some people may say Louisville doesn't need that. They have a successful program. They have a great coach, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that's what conventional wisdom says. But you are not going to risk not getting those athletes when you know other schools may be doing this. That's some of the wisdom that's here. And I use that term wisdom lightly. So Louisville is alleged to have participated in bringing in these women. And the reason we know this is because the women themselves, including the ringleader, came out and told us this. So the dancers themselves also came out. They're on record saying this stuff happened. And we even have some athletes that corroborated their stories. So I think everyone's pretty sure this happened. And again, this isn't the only place this is happening. Louisville's not the only place this or similar things are happening, right? So we're together now. So now, Rick Pitino, this is where I have a problem. He wants us to believe that he didn't know anything about it. Now, do coaches know about everything that athletes are doing? No, they don't. I've been around it enough to know that there are things that can be done that will slip in under the radar with the coaching staff, the head coach mainly, because you have these assistants. A lot of head coaches are CEO types, so they have their assistants running the day-to-day stuff. But now that doesn't stop the head coach from hearing what's going on because you have assistants reporting. I've been around it close enough to know that students, faculty, community members email directly coaches about stuff they've seen, stuff they've heard, stuff that's going on. So I remember when I was a GA at Penn State, Mike Marty, who's an NFL linebacker right now, was one of the kids I was responsible for. He came into the football building, the last building. He came into the building, and he had his hat on. Well, Joe Pa didn't allow the football players to wear their hats in the building. And I wouldn't say it was a serious offense, but it was you couldn't wear your hat. Someone's going to get said to you. You weren't going to walk by with your hat on. So I see Marty with his hat on, and I say, Marty, hey, come here, man. What are you doing? He's like, what are you talking about? Hey, take your hat off. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I forgot I had it on. He takes his hat off. All right, get out of here. He's gone. So I see Marty the next day. Marty says, hey, man, why'd you tell Joe Pa I had my hat on in the building? And I said, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, man, I got a note from Joe Pa. He called me in and said, I had my hat on in the building. Don't let it happen again. Well, you didn't have to tell. I said, man, what are you talking about? I didn't tell Joe Pa anything about you having your hat on. He said, are you serious? Yeah, man. I didn't say anything about you having your hat on. I was like, man, are you serious? Somebody actually said something to you? He's like, yeah. I'm like, wow. I'm amazed. that someone knew that because I hadn't talked to anyone. No one saw us. He walks into the door. I see him. I stop him immediately and ask him to take his hat off. Okay, so also I know other stories where a student athlete was in a heated discussion with someone on campus. And this is back in my days at Clemson. In a heated discussion, that wasn't a big problem. They just disagreed about something. It was very minor. They walk away. Nothing was made of it, except for other students walked by and witnessed it. So they sent coach emails. Hey man, one of your players are involved in an argument, yada, yada, yada. Now, it turns out it was nothing, so the coach didn't have to do anything. But I'm just trying to give you a background of how coaches hear stuff. Even stuff that's minor, hear stuff that's major, they hear stuff that's rumor. So it doesn't even have to be true. But my point is they're hearing about everything from different sources. So let's get back on Rick Pitino for a second. Now, all these things were alleged to have happened in a dorm room. Not a dorm room, but in a dorm, right, where the basketball players live. So now, part of the story is there's loud music, there's multiple women running in and out, there's sex, I'm sure alcohol, everything going on, dancing, all kind of stuff. It's a loud place. Now, this is the place where the athletes live, right? So we know if you've gone to campus, everybody knows where the athletes live. Everybody knows the central location. When I was in school, it was one single dorm. For the most part, it did change while I was in school, but you have this situation where there's wild parties, all this stuff going on, and no different than a frat house, basically. And we know when the frat house is having a party. We can hear, we see what's going on. Anyway, so you got these people going in and out. You got all kind of activity. And this is again, basketball at Louisville is big time. So people are watching you, even when you don't know people are watching you. You got all kind of, what do you call it, paparazzi, or people that's sneaking around that are not readily visible, but they're looking for stuff to write about the program. So, again, we have this stuff going on, and this is not normal. Like I said, women running in and out, women that don't look like students. At least I didn't think they looked like students on the reports I saw on television. Maybe that's me being a little, maybe that wasn't right. I take that back. I apologize if that didn't sound right, but they didn't look like students to me. Scantily clad women coming in and out of a building. It looked a little different, looked a little suspect. Anyway. So Rick Pitino is claiming these things are happening and he has no knowledge of it. And by his own admission, he has 2 nephews that live in that dorm room. In that dorm, not dorm room, but in that dorm. So not only do you have all these different people that could send you stuff from the public, other students that live in that dorm, interested parties, people that are out to get the basketball player. You have all these different interested parties that could come in and at least send you an email about some activity that seems to be going on in the basketball dorm. You don't get any of that, and you don't get your nephews telling you anything. I find that hard to believe that you know nothing. Now, the allegation or allegations with an S wasn't specific to Rick Pitino, but specific to Andre McGee, one of the persons involved with operations at Louisville basketball, who's no longer there. Now, the way the story goes, he's running the whole show. He's getting the women. He has the money. He's paying them. He's paying all the money. He's arranging it. He's setting up the individual meetings with the players and the women. He's letting the women know who the critical players are. Like, this is a big time recruit. I mean, they know them by name. They know what they look like. I mean, this is an enterprise. This is an organized effort to bring great basketball players to Louisville, right? So Andre McGee is somehow this mastermind. And at one point, the ringleader on the female side, the entertainment side, asked Andre McGee directly. According to her words, she said, "Does Rick know what's going on?" And Andre McGee says, "Man, this is Rick." Of course Rick knows what's going on. Now, there was no proof that Rick knew beyond that. But she said that's what Andre McGee said. So back on Andre McGee, this guy is the director of operations, I believe, or the assistant director of operations. And Rick Pitino wants you and I to believe that this guy comes into a program, and if you know anything about the setup of these programs, the guys that are director of ops, that are graduate assistants, these guys are grunts that are trying to make their way up the ladder. So Andre McGee did go on to go somewhere else to be an assistant coach. So they're trying to work their way up the ladder to become assistant coach, head coach. I mean, some of them started as video guys, moving to director of ops, moving to assistant coaches. So there's a path beginning where Andre McGee is. So Rick Pitino wants us to believe that Andre McGee, little known director of ops guy, set up this enterprise, risking the program of a Hall of Fame coach, Rick Pitino. Now think about this for a second. I show up as the director of ops with this guy, Rick Pitino, right? I for all intents and purposes, I think Rick Pitino is a great coach. That's why he's winning. So I come in off the street and I set up this enterprise to help him bring in players. Why do I think that Rick Pitino needs a sex operation to bring in players? Why do I think that? Like, seriously, why do I think, if I go work for Krzyzewski right now, do I think he's doing such a bad job that I need to set up a sex operation to get him players? Well, wasn't he getting players before I got there? What's the program that's already in place that's been getting him these programs, national championships and national championship appearances, the NCAA tournaments? Why do I think I then need to come in and change the game? Now, I'm single-handedly, according to Rick Pitino, single-handedly doing all this. No other assistants implicated. Really? So if I got a job with Coach K tomorrow, I think that he needs help. And little known Dutch Coleman is going to give him the help he needs in the form of sex, dancers, and what have you, money, all these different things, because without that, Lord knows Rick Pitino can't win. Think about that for a second. Rick Pitino knew nothing. And he expects me, I don't know about you, but if he expects me to believe that, he has another thing coming. Now, everything I said to you is without intimate knowledge of college basketball. Like, you don't need intimate knowledge of college basketball to come to the conclusions that I just came to. You don't need that. Now I'm going to add some of that intimate knowledge that we're talking about. I'm going to add an element of that. Now, the way things work in college basketball is that you have these layers. Now, when I say this, you're going to say, oh, that happens with everything, Dutch. Yes, it does. It does. You have these layers that have always, and I mean always historically protected the leader. Always protected the leader. So when you build this system in place, Rick Pitino's sitting up there at the top. Think about an org chart. You got your assistants below him, three assistants. Then you got your administrative guys. So you have these layers of protection. So the administrative guys, if they want to do anything, I can use them as my goats, right? My patsies in the mafia world, which I love that. I love to use that term with this, the patsies, because that's what McGee is. He's a patsy. Okay. So now when the you know what hits the fan, I got these layers of protection. So what I can do at the top is I manage the risk. And I keep these levels between me and the risk that always gives me the protection, that plausible deniability. It happens with the President of the United States. It happens in Congress. It happens in schools. It happens everywhere. Anywhere where there's a pyramid or there's a hierarchy, you're going to protect that leader. That's what you do. And this is no different. And I'm going to take a break now, but I'm going into a little more detail. And I want you to hear and understand what I'm talking about. I am the Dutch Coleman, and I'll be back right after this.